welcome back to How to Happiness. This is the second video in the forgiveness series, and we're still at Bundeena. The first video was an introduction just to let us know and talk about why we might want to bring forgiveness into our lives. And this video I'm going to talk about how we go about forgiving, because you know it's very easy for a person to say, I'll just go ahead and forgive them and let it all go, but you know that's not always so easy. So we want to talk about how to do that, and also use the tools that we picked up in the Inner Child series to help us do that, which is why I put it in there first, so we've got those tools to use today. So, forgiveness. Let's make it plain. Number one, we want to choose that one person that perhaps the thing that is most playing on our minds, that person that we really struggle to forgive, the person perhaps that we talk about and the issue that came up, the way in which they hurt us. We're going to do just one forgiveness at a time, so if you have a few that you want to get through, and I mean, who doesn't? We're just going to do one at a time though, and then you'll just come back to this process again and start with another process, another person that perhaps let you down in some way. So number two is then to pull in that stuff that we learned from the inner child work. Remembering how enlightening it was for us to discover this child within us, and how much they were involved in the choices and the reactions that we had to certain situations, how much they have motivated us in our behaviour. And also to remember how wonderful it was to discover this child and to be able to start taking care of it, to start to parent ourselves. And with that, if we can start to see and to turn around and imagine this inner child within our offender, the person that we want to go ahead and forgive, if we can perhaps see how that behaviour perhaps was something that came out of them through their inner child, and see that they haven't had the opportunity to take care of their inner child, to start taking care of their emotions and coping and parenting themselves. And so they're kind of like a child out of control that hasn't got anybody taking care of them, letting them know when really you're not behaving quite right, and do we really want to treat this other person in this way. If we can start to see that perhaps the person who's hurt us really has just been someone who's hurt themselves, or somebody who really is desperate for some sort of attention that they're not getting, some sort of need that they have that they're trying to address in this very childlike way. And if we can remember the way in which we forgave ourselves for some of the past things that we've allowed ourselves to get involved in, situations that we've been in, the way that we've behaved, and in the way that we recognised that kind of some of that was out of our control. We didn't understand about taking care of ourselves. And in this way, if we can look at the other person and see that probably those hurts and disappointments, abuse perhaps that another person has given us is really a little out of their control. And in this way we can look at them with some understanding, some compassion. We can be a little generous, just the way that we were with ourselves. If we could bring that generosity and compassion to the way that we look at this person who's hurt us, then we might be able to show some forgiveness and allow ourselves to let go of the hurt that really probably doesn't have a great deal to do with us, and much more to do with this other person's needs, fears, anxieties that just seem to show up for you. what we're hoping to do is find a way in which we can allow forgiveness into our hearts with this, about this person. So we're trying to feel those emotions of compassion, sympathy, understanding, generosity, so that we can ultimately let go of the hurts and disappointments that we're holding on to. These ones that hurt us over and over again. So try to grab onto those feelings, really experience them towards this person. And now for number 3, now that we've understood how we can view them in a different way, now for our offenders we want to just forgive them with our hearts. Allow our hearts to open to the idea of letting them off the hook, letting them go, so that we can let go of all of those emotions that are caught up with them. Let them go and forgive them. And in this way, we can be free. So for number 4, what we want to do is perhaps try some sort of activity that is going to put into a physical form our forgiveness, so it can become more concrete. It's actually a physical exercise that we can do in forgiving. Now there's some ways that we can do that by kind of being public in our forgiveness. So perhaps if somebody asks us about that incident or that person, you can let them know very clearly that that's over now. You've forgiven them and that's kind of gone from your life now. And you might want to make a public announcement. You might want to get some friends together, some people who really remember you with this event in your past, and make an announcement there at dinner. Just want to let you know that I now forgive this person, and it's actually a piece of my past. It's gone now, and I'm no longer focusing on that anymore. So I really appreciate you guys being here and helping me celebrate my forgiveness. You can do it any way you want to. If you've got some things perhaps that are like mementos, or, well, I used to keep proof. While I was waiting for my divorce to come through, some stuff came up with my ex-husband and I, letters, and anyway, and I used to keep a diary as well, just in case I needed it. But you know what, as soon as that divorce came, I created a little ceremony for myself, and I burnt all that stuff, and I felt so much better. So making a physical riddance of what, if you've got some sort of physical reminder of this offender's offence, then think of a way that you can get rid of it. You can have a ceremony and bury it, or have a ceremony and burn this thing and do a little prayer to really announce this forgiveness just to yourself and the universe and the world. It doesn't have to be public, but just make a physical effort to do it. Alternatively, you might want to write a letter of forgiveness, and that doesn't mean you need to deliver it or anything. It's more about the act. So you might want to write in this letter about the situation and how you've carried it around, and how you're letting that go now, and why you're forgiving, and how that's going to be now. So you might even want to read that out loud to a friend or something to make it more physically, a physical exercise, that statement. So these are some ways that we can really enforce that, really support that forgiveness that we are working on. And number 5, was that number 4 or number 5? I think it's number 5 then, is to know that sometimes this stuff comes back up for us. So we might make our great announcement, but still get some resentment ideas. And all we can really do is just go back to how we felt that compassion and empathy for this person and the way that they've behaved, and remind ourselves about the forgiveness that we have given them and the way that we've let all of that go now. So being understanding that it's not necessarily over. We've got a big habit of remembering this instance. So we need to start breaking that habit, and that might mean coming back to step 2 and 3 a couple of times, you know, or as many times as it takes, because forgiveness is just so important and so worthwhile for you, and a really big step in the happiness trail, yeah? So I hope that you'll be able to use all of that information that I've just given you to bring on some forgiveness. And then once you've done one, hey, go back to the start and forgive someone else. Just forgive them all. It's really powerful. Now just one point. I think I'm just going to do a little, really short video to come after this one, which talks about our parents, because sometimes that can be one of our biggest hurts, and a lot of stuff can come from that time in our childhood and how we were raised, and it can sometimes be really hard to let some of that go. So I'm going to do a really quick video on helping you to forgive your parents if that's an issue for you, so take a look at that. Alternatively, check out the website, look at the exercises. I'll put those things that we've talked about, I'll put them on there so that you can read them as well if you like, and do the meditation, because this is really going to help with getting rid of that all that bad energy that we've been talking about, and using the forgiveness in ourselves, drawing that in, and I'll let you know which areas to work on there. So check out the meditation as well. And of course, I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear about how you feel after you've forgiven that one person that you've been dragging around all this time, and how that feels to let it go. So I'm very excited. I can't wait to hear about how it all goes for you. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.